We're going to stay in Los Angeles with this next selection because we're going to go look at the receivers now in the receiving room, and the biggest wide receiver pickup for the week has to be Puka Nacua. You're like, Bradley, everyone's saying pick up Puka Nacua. But here's what they're not saying. They're not telling you that you should have picked up Puka Nacua over the summer, which I was touting Puka Nacua since March, since before the draft. I have receipts. Look on my Twitter account. Go to @FFStalder. Follow me on there and find my March, I believe it's March 23rd tweet, and just see that I was already pointing out you guys need to be checking out Puka Nacua because he's good at football. He went to BYU and was hurt for a little bit his last year, but he still put up one of the best PFF receiving grades that we've seen. He was among qualified wide receivers, the #1 receiver in yards per route run. And he's a productive wide receiver. He went in the 5th round, sure, which isn't great. It's not a great thing. But when you have such a good player fall that far, it's probably because of some injury or some attitude issue or whatever. No, Puka Nacua is a high quality individual. This is a player that we can get behind. Now, when we look at specifically the wide receiver room from week 1, let's look at all wide receivers just in week 1. Puka Nacua, 6th in PFF receiving grade. He had 14 targets. He caught 10 passes for 119 yards. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, Bradley, system wide receiver, Cooper Kupp is not in. Yeah, Cooper Kupp might not be back for a long time. You need to prioritize Puka Nacua because he's going to fit. Oh, it's the Cooper Kupp role. Maybe it's the Cooper Kupp role. Maybe it's the Robert Woods role. Whatever role it is, whatever system it is. Like, I've seen the tweets. I know what people are saying about Puka Nacua. And it's terrible. It's atrocious. It's ignorant. It's ignorant about Puka Nacua because I've been touting him since March when I started doing research for this year's class, because I'm not like a college football guy. Like I don't like follow too closely during the college football season. But once the Super Bowl ends, it's rookie research time, right? It's looking up these players, watching some film, looking at the film grades, running your regressions, the whole bit, watching the ADPs, projections and everything. Puka Nacua, 6th in PFF receiving grade in week 1, and his yards per route run among at wide receivers who had more than one target, right? He was tied for 5th in yards per route run. I don't care what you want to call it. Puka Nacua not only looked good, but he also produced. Number 1. Number 2, Matthew Stafford is back. That's why we should have confidence in Puka Nacua, because Matthew Stafford is back. Stafford threw for over 300 yards in this game. He didn't have a touchdown, which is why it hurt his fantasy value, and I think is a sneaky waiver ad. Like, if you're looking for a deeper quarterback waiver ad, Stafford was going as quarterback 23 in best ball drafts, right? So we weren't expecting him to do too much, but I think moving forward, Stafford is a mid-pack quarterback too. This is Stafford. Stafford had 0 turnover-worthy plays, and over 10 yards per target. This is massive because Stafford only had 1 game like that last year, and he's back. The offensive line looked good enough. They tore apart Seattle. Puka Nacua played well in this game. Just watch the film. Nacua looks like the real deal. We should be bidding for Nacua. And the Rams are hurting for offense. Tyler Higbee is okay. He's going to get 18 to 20% of the targets. That's fine. And Kyron Williams should be okay in this offense. Cam Akers, I thought Akers would be better, but he did not have a good first game. And we know the answer was not Van Jefferson. I even made a video. This past weekend about how Van Jefferson's not the answer. Van Jefferson, in his 45 career games, his best PPR score, 21 points. That's Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson's had 45 games now. 21 points is his max score. Puka Nacua in his first game, 21.9. If you like the content and find this helpful, make sure you hit that red subscribe button. Really helps the channel. I think Puka Nacua can PPR get you double digit pretty much every week moving forward. There's no reason for the Rams to move away from him. He played well. They drafted him. They don't have a lot of other good options. Ben Skoronek's not very good. They're going to be hurting for offense and going to be playing a lot of games, either playing catching up or from behind because their defense isn't very good. They stepped up in this game against Seattle, but I don't think that the Rams defense is going to be sustained. And so Puka Nacua, there's a lot of pathways for success for him. And I think that it was a mistake for him to be falling this far. Remember a couple years ago, there was also another wide receiver who was rated pretty well and had some good metrics out of a pretty decent school, but not like a Georgia or an Ohio State, a wide receiver that fell to day 3 that maybe shouldn't have. Oh yeah, that was Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm not saying Puka Nacua will be Amon-Ra St. Brown, but what I am saying is that we've seen good wide receivers fall into day 3 for silly reasons, and Puka Nacua is a value. He's been a value. Just look at his metrics. Just look at what he's been putting up. And the biggest red flag for him was his draft capital. I think it's obviously one small sample in the NFL, but in college, he also played very well. So Puka Nacua is a player that immediately has earned opportunity and the trust of Matthew Stafford in this offense. You need to be picking up Puka Nacua and putting a pretty penny at the beginning of the season on Nacua, especially because we don't know the duration of the Cooper Kupp injury. It could be 4 weeks. It could be the rest of the season. We don't know. I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. Cooper Kupp probably doesn't even know if he's going to play this season. He's probably hopeful. We don't know, though. And so Puka Nacua is a priority add. We knew Van Jefferson wasn't the answer. We know Tyler Higbee can only do so much. The Rams are going to try. We're going to try to see if they can squeeze some value out of any of these receivers. And Nacua's got some juice. So we want to be picking up Nacua for sure. Should I drop Jerick McKinnon for Puka? I think that in normal sized leagues, your 12-team leagues with, 6-7 bench spots, yeah, you can. You can pick up Puka Nacua for Jerick McKinnon. The reason why I'm a little more skeptical about Jerick McKinnon at this stage in the game is not because I don't think Jerick McKinnon is very good. It's the reason why McKinnon was good last year was because of increased opportunity and positive swing in the touchdown department, right? McKinnon was good in efficiency. He got more opportunity and touchdowns fell his way. This year, if touchdowns don't fall your way and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still there, which if you remember, Clyde Edwards-Helaire got the first touches of the game and continued to get touches throughout the game, along with Isaiah Pacheco. It's an ugly 3-headed monster. And I don't want parts of that for right now. I'd rather have it be 2. So as long as there are 3 in this Kansas City offense, it's going to be hard for us to have confidence in McKinnon. Give me some Puka Nacua. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Leon the Wise, who's my team? I don't know if you can tell. I don't know if you can tell if it's the Packers or not, but it's okay. Go Pack, go. Anyways, so that was my Puka Nacua bit. I hope y'all, I have almost 40% of Puka Nacua on my dynasty leagues. I'm on like 24 dynasty leagues. Shh, don't tell my wife. But it's a lot of fun being able to stash a Puka Nacua and see him hang out on my taxi squad week 1. I guess he's getting promoted week 2. We're going to be considering him as a start sit. He's going to be a tough one in the start sit category, I think, this week for week 2. So we'll see once I get closer and do a little more research and find out who y'all are asking Puka Nacua versus when we get to Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We'll find out. And Puka Nacua is going to be a tough one to both bench or to start. I think that's going to be a tough call because we like the targets. 14 targets was the second most amount of targets among all wide receivers, only behind Tyreek Hill. And 119 yards was tied for 4th, along with Tutu Atwell. But you have to like Puka Nacua's 14 targets, 119 yards. He didn't get the touchdown, but it was still a really impressive week for the rookie. Would you consider 12 to 13% of fab to be too much for Puka? No. How often are you going to get a starting wide receiver off the waiver wire? Ben Skoranek would never. Van Jefferson couldn't. This is the thing about, like, we know what the other wide receivers are for the LA Rams. We know they're not good. Van Jefferson isn't good. He's an okay 16% target share type of wide receiver with high ADOT, so he can have a couple spike weeks. But looking realistically at Van Jefferson's ranges of outcomes, he's had one game. Van Jefferson, 45 games. Once did he finish better than wide receiver 28. Once. And it was wide receiver 8 on a 6 for 60 in a touchdown game. Or 6 for 90. I'm sorry. 6 for 90 in a touchdown. So no, Puka Nacua, he could be good. We know the other wide receivers aren't, and that's why we need to give chips in on a player who's earned the routes, earned the targets, earned the trust. He played very well, and there's no reason that the coaching staff will move away from Puka Nacua. So yes, I would be aggressive about going after Puka Nacua, because how often do you get starting wide receivers in your lineup? This is also a dynasty play too. This is a dynasty play. So if Puka Nacua is somehow on your waivers in dynasty, you got a massive bid up for Puka, because Cooper Kupp is getting up there in age, and maybe they come back and say your nerve damage is so bad you're going to have to retire, and so he retires, and then who's left? It's going to be Puka Nacua for a while in LA. So this year I think Puka is very interesting, and in the future, his player profile comp, Puka Nacua's player profile comp is Stevie Johnson. Stevie Johnson had 3 straight seasons of 130 targets and 1,000 receiving yards. Sounds good to me. Sign me up. Sign me up for that. I would be aggressive about Puka Nacua right off the bat.